Today we're going to talk about fame because fame is one of the Becoming You 15 core values. As a concept and a methodology, Becoming You is based on the fact that there are 15 core values that all of us have in some degree or another. And part of the work of Becoming You is figuring out what your values DNA profile is, what matters the most to you, what matters the least to you, and which of your values are in conflict and which are in harmony. Stick with me. This is all going to make sense. But in today's episode, I'm going to start off by talking about the value of fame, which in Becoming You, a vocabulary, we call status. Why? Because the word fame wigs people out. Okay. Fame is, there's this dichotomy in the world of business, and not all of you are in business. So, but in any walk of life, that leaders are good. We exalt leaders. Leaders are like Mother Teresa, okay? And we revile managers. Managers are grunty little bureaucrats, okay? And there's this false dichotomy because you need to be a leader and manager at the same time. That's for another podcast. But the same thing is true about the word fame. We all sort of automatically hold our noses, and nobody actually, or very few people actually come right out and say, I want to be famous. It's one of my values. But I want to tell you one thing for certain. Everybody who is famous has wanted to be famous, generally. Okay, I'm sure there's exceptions. But you think Lady Gaga didn't want to be famous? You think Madonna didn't want to be famous? You think Henry Kissinger didn't want to be famous? You think that Howard Schultz didn't want to be famous? It takes work to become famous. And therefore, I'm going to back out of that people had it as a value. And like all values, I think it's super important. Just one thing, because if you're not hurting anyone with your life, I'm a values agnostic. Value what you want. You came to your values honestly by experience. And I just think that what harms people, and I'm talking about you and the people around you, is when you have a value and you don't admit it. Because the road to authenticity is paved with us being honest about our values, including our values around money, achievement, and family. Okay. These are very not generic values. We want more or less of these things in our life. Okay. And they're values. You just have to make sure they're not in conflict. All right. So why am I talking about fame? Why? Well, the other day I was invited to the US Open by my bank. They're very nice. JP Morgan, I love you. And they have a box there. And I was invited to go to the US Open and sit in their fancy schmancy box, which is always a hoot. I've done it many years. And they always have a lot of other fancy schmancy people there. Not that I would include myself in that category. They have fancy people there for us to get our pictures taken with and to chit chat with. Well, who was there when I walked in the door? I walked in the door and somebody said to me immediately, there's Steph Curry. Now, I'm not a gigantic basketball fan, but I know greatness when I'm in the room with it. And he is, to my mind, a great, I mean, raise your hand if you think Steph Curry is not great. Okay, I knew it. So I thought, I thought I'm going to try to unpick my thoughts. I didn't think, oh, I want to be in the presence of fame and greatness. I thought, oh my God, I have to have this picture for my newsletter, for LinkedIn, and for my kids. Okay, because all I know is that one time, hold on, you're gonna have to cut this right now. What is the name of the famous astronomer? Yes, Neil deGrasse Tyson, right? Okay, all I know is that when my kids were in high school, I went to a party and Neil deGrasse Tyson was there, and I got my picture taken with him, and suddenly I was taken very seriously. I mean, it was just like a life changing experience. Like you were near that guy. Anyway, I thought I'm gonna get my picture taken with Steph Curry. And then somebody said, you know who's standing next to him, don't you? That's Andy Roddick. And I was like, okay, again, I'm not sure who that exactly is because I'm not a big tennis person, but I was vaguely aware that this was a well-known tennis player. And I managed to get a picture with both of them. And I think I'm cringing a lot as I'm taking these pictures. I definitely said I a huge admire both of you. And then I know you won't be surprised to know that I looked directly at Steph Curry and said, would you ever speak in my class at NYU? I'm just shameless. I'll ask anybody who might bring value. And he was like, haha, yeah, that's great. You know, like random lady who I'll spend approximately 10 seconds of my life with. So I got my picture with both of them. And I thought this is definitely a moment for me to talk to the people who listen to me and my various platforms about fame. And all I ask is that you have a candid conversation with yourself in that moment that nobody does. When I did the 3-day intensive in New York, which by the way, if any of my intensive participants are listening, I love you so much. That was a great life experience. And we'll do it again. There was at one point where I said, please shut your eyes and allow yourself to imagine the life that you want with no editing. You get exactly what you want. You do exactly what you dream you want to do. There are no constraints. Let yourself imagine it. We never do that. I don't even do that. I mean, I edit myself immediately. I'm an editor by trade, and man, when it comes to my life dreams, I start editing the minute I hear myself let myself think something that amazing could happen. And when you do that, like, and you close your eyes and you start to imagine this life 20 years hence, you got everything, you did everything. How famous are you? How much celebrity do you have? Now, look, I know from being married to a famous person for 20 years that fame has its amazing upsides like access and clout and validation. Like walking down the street, people just used to stop my husband and say things like, I modeled my whole business career in because of you and the stock options you gave all employees, my family has sent 4 children to college or has a boat or whatever. And you get this incredible love back and validation a lot of the times. And you get to be able to, I'm not going to lie here, you get to call an incredibly popular restaurant at 6 o'clock and make a reservation for 6:15. Okay, that kind of thing, that goes with fame. It also has downsides. And, these are cliches, but you definitely lose your privacy. People talk about you in not friendly ways a lot of times, and you lose a sense of personal security for sure. I have had a relationship with fame, which I've had to learn as I've gotten older. And now, as I'm poised to have my book come out, and my own profile is growing along with the acceptance and embrace of becoming you, I've sort of had to ask myself the same question I'm asking you to ask yourself, which is like, how much do I want of this? Why do I want it? Do I want to be as famous as Steph Curry or Angie Roddick, or do I want to have some privacy left? Because those people have no privacy, and they sometimes probably have no sense of personal security, and they are scrutinized in a way that's not very pleasant. But there's always a but with every value.